This week, the normally reclusive principal owner of the Boston Red Sox went public to address a subject that's pricked the ears of Boston's entire business community, his acquisition of the Boston Globe.
Around these parts, John Henry is best known as the stoic and silent one of the big three who own the Boston Red Sox.
How are you feeling today?
But this week, Henry was a man of many words as he addressed a packed room of Boston's business elite, giving a hint of things to come at the Boston Globe.
We're going to concentrate on what we're good at, and we're going to dispense with things that we aren't that good at.
While Henry wouldn't say what might get dispensed, he crowed about where the paper excels.
Our sports editor came up with a new special section called Score every Monday. You'll see in that section and elsewhere that we're going to take a page from sports teams and from television. We're going to seek sponsors.
He also cited the hiring of veteran Vatican watcher and journalist John Allen, who will be both writing and blogging.
Today, all of us are one click away from the best in the world regarding any subject. So we're going to be the best in the world at covering Boston and New England.
Henry did not announce any new business models, but made it clear he expects the business community to step up to the plate.
We need your support of the Globe. The Herald needs your support.
And he addressed the elephant in the room, editorial independence and coverage of the Red Sox.
I don't see a conflict there. We have an editorial staff and a newsroom that is not involved in the business aspect. That's actually, part of my job to ensure that that remains.
No doubt readers will be the judge.
Well, I was at that breakfast this week, and I have to say, he was riveting. He wove a story. He started by talking about his acquisition of the Red Sox and all the successful models and the formulas they used and the data and the science. He says he doesn't make predictions, and he wasn't going to make any predictions about the Globe other than he thought it was going to be successful. And then he said he was going to apply some of the same methodology that they used to make the team, the Red Sox, successful, to make the Boston Globe successful. And I have to say, he was guilting that group of business people into saying, you must be the backers. You have to buy advertising. And I thought he was bold in saying that, he's going to take a page out of television and go after as many sponsorships as possible of every kind of coverage as possible. I'm sure even the Vatican stuff is going to be sponsored in some way or other. So he's going to try to make this thing go by building on what he's already got.
Well, I was there, too. I was sitting next to you. And, yeah, I agree. For somebody who has a reputation of being somewhat reclusive, he is riveting in public. He really is. I would like to talk about something else that happened that day that was not announced that morning, and that is that Chris Mayer, the publisher of the Globe, is going to be moving on after about 3 years in that position. I suppose we could have expected this from the time that John Henry announced he was buying the paper. Henry seems to have a vision. He has every right to implement it with the people that he trusts. But Chris Mayer has done a terrific job. He oversaw the 2 website strategy. He launched the online radio station. And I think that John Henry will end up replacing him with probably somebody very smart and interesting, but that doesn't mean he's going to be easy to replace.
Well, he said he's going for a COO, a Chief Operating Officer, and that's what he's really looking for. And Chris Mayer isn't his guy, so you got to understand that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I got to say, I heard some audio of Henry's appearance that, if I worked at the Globe, would have made me a little bit concerned. I'm paraphrasing here, but it should be pretty close to verbatim. His comment was something like, if the Globe isn't aggressively relevant right now, then we need to be. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to make a case, whether you love the Globe or hate it, you'd be hard-pressed to make a case that the paper doesn't really drive the news agenda, by and large, in Boston and New England. So I guess you could say his skepticism about that is a good thing. Maybe it'll make him push the paper harder. But if I were a Globe staffer, it would make me a little worried that he wasn't giving us enough credit for the work that we currently do. I think the idea of a standalone paper dedicated to Catholicism, hooked to the sort of Francis mania that we're in the midst of right now, is very interesting. And it's sort of a pet peeve of mine. I know people on the panel disagree with me. I think he's a little too flip when it comes to possible conflicts of interest between owning the Globe and owning the Red Sox. For example, if one of his visions is blowing out, a special section covering sports, obviously that's going to benefit his other big business. And to not acknowledge that there's a little tension there, or at least some awkwardness, strikes me as a little disingenuous. But I wasn't there, and I wish I'd seen it because it sounds fascinating.
Well, I think the COO move is very interesting because that's a move that's going to affect all the other parts. I also think the hiring of the special correspondent was a really important move too, acknowledging Boston's history, Boston's interest in this, and bringing it all home. And that guy is very good. I've watched him before. So those two things are really kind of interesting to me. I would note that he asked Mayor to stay on in his advisory role. And he didn't have to do that. So I have to assume that he too recognizes that the man had some expansive impact on the paper as it is, and even as he moves in a different direction, it's important to have that input. With regard to some of the other stuff, I think you just have to wait and see. I'm still wanting him to talk about why he sold the Worcester Telegram. I mean, those are questions.
He did address that. He didn't. He wasn't a throwaway. He said he really thought about keeping it and just said, my focus is the Boston Globe. I can't get distracted.
Okay, well. That's interesting to me.
Well, I think this guy is brilliant, and no, I'm not lobbying for a job at the Globe. I have a job. Thank you very much. And if the Red Sox model is his template for what he's going to do with the Globe, that sounds good to me, because that's been a brilliant success story, both on the field and financially. A couple of little differences, though. With the Red Sox, he already had an economically thriving enterprise and a built-in cash cow in Fenway Park. He's maximized those assets, but the newspaper business is a little bit different, so he's got a bigger reclamation project there. One other thing I just wanted to add to what you said is he alluded to the possibility of Globe TV. Yes. Which certainly could be an interesting concept. John Allen, although he's known for his writing, is better known for being on TV, and he's very good on TV.
That's right.
A lot of times, sometimes newspaper people traditionally haven't been so good on TV. If he's building toward that model, that was one step in the right direction.
Interesting to see where he goes with that, because I actually tried to press him on that after the thing as well.
How'd you make out?
Not too well.
Okay.